Hi everybody, it's time for me to talk about a fun video, which I've actually been meaning to do for a while, and I was really inspired by Chemical Detox, her channel, and she recently did a spiritual awakening video. So go check her out, I'll link it below, and she kind of gave me the guts to do this one and talk about my spiritual awakening experience. So yeah, let's get started. So I grew up with a pretty orthodox religion, and I would say a lot of my experiences in life kind of just overshot me in growth wise, and I felt that the shoe was getting too tight, like with the current church that I was involved in, and the beliefs weren't deep enough or farther enough where I could really find the answers that I was looking for. So I started questioning a lot of things, and for a while I actually was wondering about life after death. And so with that, I came across people talking about a lot of near-death experiences, and there's a specific website called NDERF.org, and they've actually expanded now where they have, I think it's OBERF, or it's talked about like out-of-body experiences as well. So they have like a couple sites, but at the time it was just NDERF.org, and it basically stands for Near-Death Experience Research Foundation, I believe, and they would gather a bunch of stories. I would say more than just stories; they're actual experiences from people that had died and had a near-death experience, and were now sharing their experience on this site. So I stayed up like the whole night and read so many experiences, actually over a course of days. I would say I stayed up late, like every night after work. I would come home and I would read these experiences. I read over 1,000 experiences, and if you go to their site, they have so many experiences recorded. What I found fascinating about it is that it had people from all over the world. So they were translating different languages. They were getting these experiences and from people from all different religious backgrounds, from all different beliefs, atheists, very extremely religious people, Christian people. And I started noticing several things within these near-death experience stories that kind of made it believable in the fact that it was just like, wow, there seems to be a pattern here. And here's what I discovered for myself. And if you went to the site and if you went to the site and read a couple of these experiences, you would definitely see a pattern. So most people talk about like a tunnel, and then reaching some sort of boundary, and a guide, a loved one, a family member, maybe even their respected religious beliefs, like if they believed in Jesus, they would see Jesus, God, or from other different types of world religions, they would find somebody that they would basically confide and trust in, somebody they would look up to. And so they were told a couple things about their life. They were told a little bit about their experience of what got them into that situation, like an illness or something like that. And then most of them were given like a choice to go back. Some of them probably didn't feel like they were given a choice, but because they felt like I just found myself back in my body kind of thing. But most of them do talk about like they were given a choice. Do you want to go back and live your life? And then they would see like certain family members, or they would see certain events that would happen in their future, that they felt compelled to want to return to their life on Earth so that they could finish those like missions or events, or maybe they were going to have another son or a daughter, or who knows. So they felt very inclined to return, and they were also given information about their futures. So anyway, that I started to see a real big like pattern, and I thought, so many people like this having these same experiences. There's got to be something to this. I really started to believe in life after death, and that there, was something to it. And also, what I also just took for myself was that in the death experience, they actually had a part in creating that as well. So after I was reading these experiences, I kind of had a feeling like, well, I want to connect with my guides. I want to know, if these things are true. So I actually went and I got this isn't the kit, this is just my angel card readings from Doreen Virtue. But there's an actual boxed kit that I had that came with I think a rose quartz heart, a candle, maybe a feather, I can't remember, some cards. And it was all about connecting with your spirit guides. I will put the link below if she still has that for sale. I'll put that in the description box. I have now since donated it because it brought me so many answers that I felt like I need to pass this on to somebody. So I donated it, and so I don't have it anymore. Excuse me, I'm trying to get more comfortable because it's really uncomfortable sitting on my floor. And anyway, well, why you're sitting on the floor? Why not sit on this comfortable couch? Well, it's just like I can't get the angle of the camera high enough right now, so this will have to do. But anyway, so I decided to go through the process. She takes you through how to do it, how to connect with your guides and angels and things like that. So I did it. I followed through. I listened to the CD, and then I started listening at the end portion of it, listening to if any names were coming to me. And this part was hard for me at first because you just don't want to believe anything that pops into your head. You feel like you doubt that or whatnot. So I got a couple names and things that I don't know. I don't know if they really, at the time, I didn't know what they meant really. And so I said, okay, is there anybody else? And I just kind of sat there and stopped trying so hard to listen, or just kind of felt like, well, if there's anything else, whatever. Suddenly, a name came to me. And funny thing, it's like the only one I remember out of all of that. But and it was Andromedans. And so I thought, well, what, isn't that like a Greek mythology story type thing? So I thought that was interesting. Went along about my way. Had a dream that night that a wise old Asian lady was kind of performing this neat little ritual on me, kind of like I don't know, like it just looked like a sacred ritual. And she was kind of working from my back, and she was doing something with her hands. I can't remember exactly, but I just remember that this like green band went across my back. And then I just remembered it the next day, and I thought, oh, how beautiful. That was so vivid. I remembered it. Then I started doing a little bit of research and spiritual research and things like that, and learning about chakras and whatnot, and learning that was the heart chakra, and I believe that she was opening it at the time. So I thought that was kind of cool. A couple nights later, and oh, by the way, all of this started happening in 2006. So this was like, I would say, my big awakening from going to everyday living, going to my office job, not sure what I believed in, to actually finding something that made sense to me about, after death and things. So that happened, all happened back in 2006. So after that, I had an experience during lucid sleep, which kind of bothered me a bit because I didn't understand it. And I just remember like a baby blue energy, kind of like in waves going through me. And I had this visual of like a spiral coming up through my spine into my neck. And I felt like I was literally moving with this energy going up my spine, kind of like an uncoiling. And when I woke, I thought, oh my gosh, did I just have a seizure? Like, what was that? Like, I didn't even know what it was. It was just so strange. And the fact that I could see light with it, and that it felt spiritual, yet something that I shouldn't be scared of, but yet was just really out there. So I wasn't sure what it was. Started looking online a little bit, like, what is this thing. I called my doctor. I said, I think I had a seizure. Like, I don't know. Is this I was taking some kind of medication at the time for depression. So I didn't know if this was like a side effect or whatnot. So I got, now forgive me, I don't know if it's an EEG or an EKG. I'm thinking it's an EEG because one of them's heart and one of them's brain. But whatever the one is for seizures, that is the one that I got. They didn't really find anything. And so that came back negative. And I said, well, I know this felt, I could physically feel it. So what was it? I started looking online, and something called a Kundalini Awakening came across my research. And it's about the snake uncoiling from the bottom of the base of your spine into your neck here, and how a lot of people can get this through yoga. And then I was reading further about how it was, especially if it was an assisted awakening in dream state, how that is very rare and a beautiful thing, and can kind of like wake a person up essentially and spiritually. So that just absolutely blew my mind away. I found that extremely fascinating. And also I was like, okay, that's what it was. I'm not going crazy. So yeah, a very beautiful experience. Since then, I don't think I've had anything quite that dramatic in terms of Kundalini. That was really the first initial like dramatical physical thing I remember happening. After that, I actually do remember trying to fall asleep and being able to see the room around me with my eyes closed, and that was like, whoa. So a lot of like lucid dreaming started happening, experiences. I started to read a book called Astral Dynamics, and I'll put that in the description box below, and he teaches a little bit more about how to induce a out-of-body experience. So I followed one of the exercises and had a partial one, and since then I've actually had maybe 2 or 3 like full body ones that happened in lucid dream state. And but this one I definitely was awake like the whole time, and I achieved a partial one exit point through my, I think, pineal gland or the third eye. And, but because I was afraid at the time, it was just very new to me. I was afraid. So as soon as I experienced the fear, I lost it and, kind of went slamming back into my body. And then the whole night I kept feeling like I was trying to jump out and leave my body, and it was really annoying me. I was like, can you stop that? It was like, I just want to go to sleep. So I just started to play around with different things like that, started to have amazing dreams. I'm going to insert some pictures here. I started taking a dream journal. I started recording, meditations and experiences I started having. I have always been connected with the mermaid and fairy realms and fantasy art and that sort of thing, but now they really started to come into being for me as guides and with messages. And also I feel that between lives, I always felt like I kind of did like vacationed in these realms, kind of like, let's see what it's like to be in the mermaid realm for a while. But so that's probably why I just feel so connected with their energies. And I also started to feel like at work, I started to feel electronic fields around me, and I started being more sensitive and open to energies around me. And I had an experience where I was going upstairs in the attic and in the basement of this old building that I worked at, and it's been the first time I ever like went in there looking for some boxes or something, and I definitely felt like, okay, like that creepy feeling you get, and I just felt like I disturbed something. And so when I was leaving for the day, I felt this shove on my shoulder, and that was like, okay, yep, I believe in ghosts now. I mean, it was so crazy. It just felt like somebody had shoved me in the shoulder and just went right past me as if they didn't want me to leave or they were mad at me. I couldn't tell what it was exactly. But that was definitely like my ghost story experience. And also I could feel like the computer, back to electronic, fields changing. I could feel like when the computer would change, like, frequencies or I can't explain it really. It's just, I could sense it in my own field. So I don't know. It's hard to, it's really hard to explain, but like almost as a shifting of gears in a car. When you feel your car go near, and you're like, shifting gears. It feels a little bit like that, but almost like an electronic field sort of way. That's the best way I know how to describe it. I also, discovered more about being a highly sensitive person and being an empath, and realizing a lot of energies I'm feeling are other people's. And I also started feeling that I was getting downloads from my guides, and just kind of like downloads. What I mean by that is like kind of like upgrades, and with that I would get like a high pitched ear ring with a muted pressure, and usually it'd be in one or the other ear, and I would get it, and sometimes they would last forever. And I remember some of them made me feel just amazing, like like I could feel the energies kind of into my energy field, change it, and it felt really good, like blissful. And then I would get that muted pressure ear ring, and then I started noticing a pattern through the years. Like after I would get that, I would feel really great for about a day or so, like you're on top of the world. And then the next couple of days I would then get the darkness out. So I think I would just keep getting these upgrades spiritually. And then what would happen is that we would have to move through my body, and all the blockages I had in my body, all of the fear, all of the pain, all of the trauma, the energies moving through that would stir up stuff. So I'd feel really, really crappy for like sometimes weeks, but now it's getting shorter. Like I can just feel that way for maybe an hour or so, or maybe a day. So it's not as long. But some of the upgrades I feel like I get are so intense that they nearly knock me out, and I can be in bed, or I could have like a pinched nerve in my spine and blockages being settled there, or in my neck, all sorts of stuff like that. So I would work a lot with my guides during meditation and everything to work through a lot of those energies coming to me. And I think just those energies or upgrades, I don't know, for lack of a better term, that's what I call them. But I just think they're more about like working through my muck and my mud, and just kind of purifying as I go along different levels. So, and I believe this happens for everybody, quite honestly. Maybe I'm just more sensitive to them, and that I can feel them and I can sense them. But I notice when I get around certain people too, that suddenly issues and things like that will come up in their lives, and suddenly they find themselves healing from them. And I would say that's a wonderful thing, but honestly, sometimes I'd feel so bad, like, oh, I came to visit you and now you have all these issues. I'm sorry. Sorry, not sorry. But yeah, so I've kind of, without sounding like completely like, oh my gosh, she thinks what? I mean, I play the harp. I feel like I was a healer coming to experience everything a woman goes through in her life. And I got my PhD in it, kind of, like all of the crap that I've been through. I feel like I've come through to help learn what it's like to heal and go through that. And I feel like my lifetime theme has been all about just getting my master's or my PhD degree in healing. And Doreen Virtue talks about a lot of like just the earth angels among us kind of thing. And I feel like that speaks some truth to me. But really, I feel like I'm going through it for others and myself. So that it helps others, and it helps me understand from a human perspective what it's like to heal from suffering, from pain, from surrendering, and the challenge of that, and how hard it is. It's no joke, really. The human experience is like the most ultimate reality in which you can come down and experience what life is like, and in the physical with a body. back to the Andromedans. So, before I forget about that. So the next like week or so after I had that experience, or I was like, what is this Andromedan stuff? I had that dream about the Arcturians, and I talk about it in a previous video, which I'll link below, my experiences with the Arcturians, where I was at a chalkboard and they had me write out their name. And this is a name I've never read, never heard of, never experienced. And they had me write it out. And then the next day is when I looked it up and found out they were like a benevolent, angelic ET race. And then so were the Andromedans. So that's kind of where I started going down my Starseed like route, lineage, feeling like that was what I was learning about myself. And I was really kind of like about it, like, yeah, I've always liked sci-fi. I've always been drawn to it, you know, but this is a whole nother level, like, what? So I just felt like the least weird way I could explain it without scaring everybody is because you just don't want to think, what, aliens, what? But essentially, if you believe in angels and things like that, like those are a form of extraterrestrial type being, really, if you look at it that way. So just I think it's just easier to look at it in that sense, that they're just angelic type beings from other dimensions that are here to guide and assist humanity. And if you believe in angels, it's kind of the same thing. So I figure that's the least weird way to explain it. But I've had many, many experiences of that, and I don't know if I'm quite ready to talk about them. Like, I go into it a little bit here and there, but truthfully, I'm very shy to talk about this. This stuff is really sacred to me, and I just find it very hard to share. And I also don't want to scare people away that I know in real life. Like, I don't want them to be like, okay, she's a little strange. But I've had so many cool experiences, meditations, dreams, contacts. Again, I've showed you some of my art. Like, there's even more to that. And I'd love to go in and share some more, and perhaps I will when I get a little more brave. But for now, if you feel inspired to share your spiritual awakening story, I would love it if you did. And please come back to the comments section and leave like a link to your video talking about your spiritual awakening, because I would just love to hear it. And I feel like I'm going to start this movement, like Chemical Detox started it. So now I'm doing a video. Now somebody else go out there and do your spiritual awakening video, because we all are going to have different experiences. They could be quite dramatic and sudden, or they can be gradual. They could be through a psychic reading. They could be through the death of a loved one. And just all kinds of ways, all kinds of different experiences. Everybody's going to have something different. So let me know if you have had that kind of experience. Even if you don't feel like you want to do a whole video of it, just, you know, comment in the section below and let's share our stories. All right, this video is getting long enough. Talk to you soon. Bye.